let's get into it. Let's get into our first topic, right? So it's gonna be a little spicy. It's gonna be a little spicy, but it's not meant to be. We're gonna talk about it though. All right, so I'm about to do a quick screen share. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, so the first article that we're gonna talk about is 6 reasons why the poor stay poor and middle class doesn't become wealthy. I know that just hearing it, I know that landed on some folks' spirit. Like you might be mad, it might have pissed you off. It may not have been meant to be that, but if it's resonating with you and you felt it, there's something there. And so just tune in and just listen. Always keep an open mind. It doesn't mean this
Mm.
article is right or wrong, whatever, but like just keep an open mind, because our upbringing does influence us. So let's just dive in there. Let's get into these 6 reasons. 6 reasons poor stay poor. One, we learn financial habits privately, not in school. So,
Yeah.
whenever you think about it, like first, let's get the parents out there grace, right? Like, so we don't, this ain't, bashing nobody or nothing like that. At this point, we all about extreme accountability, right? Like, and pointing at yourself. But it does impact you, like coming up, growing up, if his money conversations are totally avoided or not necessarily avoided, but like not intentionally speaking about it, like not intentionally having family gatherings and like, hey, let's talk about money. Hey, this is the value of a dollar. Hey, this is how you pay yourself first. Hey, make sure you pay off your debts. Hey, don't get into massive amounts of debt, but hey, make sure you invest too. Make sure make sure, and so you just developing these sound fundamental principles as it relates to your finances. But if you've never gotten to the conversation and all you hear is I can't afford it, money don't grow on trees. And it's just more of a holding on type of conversation, and it's not coming from a confidence level about money. It's not coming from that lens, and you're just not ever hearing that. You're only hearing one side of it, not to diminish that side, but you're not hearing the other side. Like, so a lot of times you get stuck in this purgatory of lack. Well,
Right.
there's people in this world that is operating in abundance and we talking about money right now. So we're gonna talk about abundance in your finances. So it says hard to get rich if you don't know much about money. That's what the article say.
Right.
Surprising no one, financial literacy shares a strong correlation with wealth. Yet teaching personal finance or investing in schools isn't prioritized. Not meant to be. Instead of us must learn them at home. Instead, each of us must learn them at home or worse, on our own in adulthood. What you got? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm taking a step further, like, because I think that is part of the problem, but even for those of us that have, because some of us do get this material in school, I'm gonna take it a step further in that I don't think it's just the fact that we're not learning it in school, because I think some of us are learning it in schools. Because I remember in high school, I had one class that it wasn't the best, but we at least covered
Yeah,
some stuff. And then in college, I took like one course on personal financial literacy and what to do, but at that time it was just theory. I
yeah,
wasn't I wasn't earning money yet. I didn't know what to do. So I'm gonna take it a step further and not just say we learn financial habits privately, but we practice financial habits privately. Once we actually start earning an income, we're not really, we just kind of free with our money. No one's there to tell you what to do. There's no teacher, no parent, no, no accountability partner. And so that's why I try to, I mean, money is a bit of a private issue in America, I guess, in our society. So people don't want to talk about it. But for people that I'm close with, for the most part, obviously, you pick and choose who you talk about this stuff with. But if it's somebody that, if it's like a peer, a guy that's my age, then we're, and we're pretty cool. I'll, I won't steer away from talking about money. I'll ask them like, hey man, how do you feel about money? I try to initiate these conversations because at the end of the day, we're all just learning. I'm not better than them. They're not better than me. Maybe they'll put me on to something that I don't know, or maybe I can help them and say, hey, maybe the way you're approaching debt is not going to get you to where you want to be, because it's not about, what I want for them or what they want for me. And so if we can all maybe start practicing these financial habits together and maybe share what's working and, help each other achieve our own goals faster.
No, that's deep. That's deep. All right, let's go to number two. We adopt the views and habits of our communities.
Mm.
Hey, if you grow up surrounded by attorneys, investment bankers, or entrepreneurs, you'll likely consider those career paths. And man, I've seen that to be so true. You may also get some help along the way with tuition, test preparation, and introduction to people who can help with your career. You've seen that in school, getting that test preparation and what that did for you in your life. Uh, but even if you don't, you'll grow up with a clear view of these career paths. You'll know each step it takes to get exactly where you want to go. So the moral here is just talking about your role models. Role models probably work long hours and value education. Your parents probably press you to get good grades, which that's just, I understand that mindset, but but to your point, taking it one step further, it's not just about getting good grades. It's about how are you going to apply that to the real world? Like what you're learning in school, how are you going to make that though? How are you making the connections with the skills that you need for the real world? School is a part of it, but like you get so used to getting glorified for having good grades, you lose that connection of like, because once school is done, like you feel like you're on a mountaintop and hey, it was a great accomplishment, but then you get into the real world, your career start, and you think, I'm like, hey, grades over. Like, ain't nobody giving you no more, A's and all that. Like, that's over with. You know what I'm saying? But and
Yeah.
so going back to the article, if you grow up surrounded by high school dropouts, some of who work low wage jobs and others of whom collect Social Security or disability benefits, and that is considered retirement. Naturally some people have health concerns, things like that, but like maybe you are in a community where social security and disability benefits, that is the retirement, and there was no preparation up until that point, like none, like no investments, no 401ks, no pensions, none of that. And that was the retirement plan, was for the government to take care of them. So not saying, I'm just saying it as a straight line matter of fact, not putting judgment on it one way or the other, but maybe that might have happened in the community that you are part of. So they probably wouldn't be the ones that lend themselves to financial success. You may even develop a disdain for that. So for education. So what are your thoughts on that part of it?
I think, I mean, and I guess it kind of goes back into like the first point as well. Like I was saying, I guess if you're practicing financial habits with people that don't have good financial habits, and that's definitely going to pull you. Or if, like I said, if you grow up seeing these poor financial habits, it's hard to shake what you witness, what you spent 18 years witnessing. It's hard to just take a year or two and shake all that off. You might not even know how deep into your mind that stuff is waiting, and so you have to really put in the work and figure out, like I said, what goals do you want for yourself? Because it's very easy to get caught up in what goals you think sound good, or taking the other route and saying, well, I know what I don't want to be, and looking at all the bad around you saying, I just don't want to be that. Well, then, okay, well, once you get past bad, you still got to work to be good and great and then awesome. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's now what you're talking about is being stuck in purgatory of focusing on what you don't want. And that's all you ever focus on is what you don't want. You never turn the corner and ask the opposite question, well, what do I want? And then you start spending more time focusing on what you do want. And things do happen in our lives, but it's all about framing. And and this comes with maturity, this comes with coaching, this comes with mentors. Like everything that happens to us in the moment, it probably sucks. It probably don't feel good. But like if you can make your way around to say everything is working out in my favor, this is where having faith, this is where having some type of spiritual foundation, and you understand some of the principles that go along with that's those spiritual teachings and those principles, where it's like everything is working out for your good. Like if you truly believe that, then you're like, sure, I would have wanted it to happen a different way, right? But like it didn't. So like get over it. Like and get therapy or whatever you need. But like well, if you can make it around to the framing of everything's working out for my good, everything's working out for my good. And so then you have that mindset, and then you're focusing on, well, what do I want? And then you just slowly start moving forward, right? And I'm not saying it like above anyone else. Like me saying it, that's a journey that I've been on, that we all are on together. So I want to say it in that way. So not from a, you know, better than position. All right. Number 3, higher education equals higher earnings. As it comes as no surprise that education is highly correlated with wealth. In fact, Social Security Administration put the average lifetime earnings of men and women with advanced degrees 1.5 million higher than those with high school diplomas. But growing up in poor communities, you'll face several challenges in attaining higher education. The first is cultural. You're simply less likely to want to go the distance if no one in your community has pursued it. Honestly, what I hear there is just honestly the lack of exposure, right? That's what I hear there. So it's not like you didn't, I don't think people inherently like not want to do better for themselves, but like if you just don't have the exposure, like you just don't even know that that's possible. Like, and so getting that exposure is really important. The other part that it talks about is you'll also face financial challenges in pursuing your education. Your parents might ask you to chip in financially once you reach your teenage years, making it harder to stay in high school and earn stronger grades. So, and that says nothing of the cost of college or even applying to them. So when you start making money, your family like, hey, you're gonna have to pay this light bill. Like, hey, you're gonna have to start helping out with something. Then if you do make it around to getting exposure to pay for college, then it's like, oh, you're gonna have to foot that bill 100%. Like, they got you to 18, but then you like, dang, I want to go to college. You ain't got no funding. So now you're talking about going into massive amounts of debt potentially. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you can get scholarships and things like that. And do you have the training, the exposure process plan to help you get scholarships and work your way through that? Not everyone makes it to the scholarship route, depending on what your academics look like. So, like, that's what this part is talking about. What's your thoughts on that? Coming from a Gen Z perspective.
I mean, especially having just
Wait,
lit.
before you go, and I was the one that did not get any financial support. I didn't get no scholarships. I didn't get any scholarships, no full rides. Ended up in over $100,000 worth of debt. By the way, it's gone. But I do think that all those things made me stronger. But I resonate with this article. Now you had a different experience. So let's hear your I just want to add that context in there. So now when you go, and also for the listeners so they can understand the contrasting things. So we're not like reading this article and hadn't affected us in some way or another. Like, so we humanizing this because we just like y'all. You know what I'm saying? All right, kick it off. My bad, cutting you off.
No, right. Honestly, like I said, it resonates for me in a different way because like I had the opportunity to attend an Ivy League school with a full ride. I didn't have to pay a penny. I mean, of course, hidden costs, but for the most part, full ride. I didn't pay lunch. I got paid to go. But a lot of people will hear that story, and of course, I worked hard. You know, I made sacrifices. Anyone that's going to those schools did the same thing. But a lot of people won't realize that a major, like, they don't realize the like the behind the scenes, or I guess I'll say like the butterfly effect. Like they don't even know that none of that would have even could have came to play. Like the domino that got pushed to set all that off was literally just my big brother saying, "Yo, Kim, have you even thought about like going to an Ivy League school? Have you even like given this any thought?" Like I think you might could do it. Like, and even then, you know, it was still just an idea, a crazy idea. But
Okay,
sometimes
all right, so right there, because this might go back to the community. So this might be taking us back to step two. But how did you even not seeing it in your environment? For me, I was the first to graduate with undergrad, like with my bachelor's and my master's. So like I don't know what maybe it was God that activated, say you're gonna be the one that's gonna push things further, but I did not see it in my circumference. For you, you talk about Ivy League, you didn't see that. I didn't go to no Ivy League. So like what seed was planted in you to want to explore Ivy League, going back to your point?
I think for me specifically, and it's probably true for a lot of people, but it was, or a lot of people that came from a similar scenario. I think it's a mix of, it's kind of like a lighter. You got to have the gasoline, which I think the support from like you, that vision to say, you know what, Keon, because you could have just woke up that day and be like, I'm not finna boost Keon big head up. I'm not even gonna tell him this because I don't know. Or you could have just not said that. So I'll say that's the gasoline. And then the support I got from others, like my mentors and people that helped me with test prep and all that, that's the gasoline. But I'll say the actual, like, the mechanical movement, the spark was, like I said, I think you gotta have some internal drive. Like, I mean, all throughout my school career, I mean, from like kindergarten, I mean, from kindergarten and up, I mean, class was pretty easy to me. Maybe like around like fifth, sixth grade, math was like but even still, I didn't care to put in the work. I didn't want to. I'm just here because y'all made me. I'm here because I have to be. I'm here because my parents will get arrested if I don't show up. So, okay, all right, I guess I'll show up then. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna be talking to my friends in class, having fun, doing just enough in class to make sure my parents don't, take my game away, take my phone away. That's my main priority. But then for some reason, maybe a year or two before you make that comment to me about the Ivy League, something just kind of switched in me where I was like, you know what? In my mind, I think I'm smart. Whether people agree with me or not, that's up to them. But for some reason, I feel like I'm smart, and I just want to see what I can do if I really try in these classes. Because it's one thing to get a B or get a C and be like, I didn't try though. I coulda, I coulda. I didn't want to be a coulda, woulda, shoulda at graduation. You get what I'm saying? I didn't want to be at graduation like, man, I could have did this and I could have if I really tried. I didn't want to be like that. So I said, you know what? I don't know, something just flipped in me. I was like, you know what? I don't want to, avoiding a butt whooping and avoiding getting my phone took wasn't just my main motivator no more.
Mm.
For some reason, my pride got involved. I don't know why or how, but somehow it did. And I said, you know what? Let me care about this. Let me actually put some effort into it and started, really taking my grades serious. And actually, it happened at the right time because that's when your grades start really counting towards the GPA. They're not really counting what you do in elementary, but for some reason, you had caught me in that mood, and then you and also other mentors who said, Keon, you might be able to. I started seeing it for myself in terms of, okay, I know the grades are going to be good. I know my GPA. I don't got to worry about that, but I know you need more than GPA to get into these schools. Boom, that's when insert the test scores. They started having practice tests at my school, and I took it, and I scored pretty well on it. I think I scored like a 28, 29. And so I didn't know much about the test, but I knew that was decent. And then, I mean, I guess the rest was history from there. I locked in with a test prep. One of my teachers who also did test prep. And after a couple of sessions, he made me realize, like, yo, like, Keon, this is coming a lot easier to you than most.
For sure.
Like, you in terms of exposure, like you were saying, exposure, you won't know that. I honestly thought that I was bad in English in high school. I really did. I really thought I was a poor communicator. And like so much of your attitude, I mean, and listeners, if y'all listen to this, take this away because I'm not gonna like it wasn't by magic that I became a perfect score in English and reading on the ACT. Like it's a combination of things: talent, hard work, and like I said, you got to get your pride involved. If your pride's not in it, you might as well not even be doing it. You know, you gotta go find something that's gonna get you to involve your pride in it. Because once I said, I took what you said and I said, let me see what I can do. Let me make something for myself. Let me see where I can go. So what, it hasn't been done before me. For some reason, once you get your pride involved in your will, all the excuses and obstacles turn into just a roadmap. It's just a map. I don't care. If I gotta run through this wall, I'm gonna run through it. And then once you get the right support system behind you, like that teacher I mentioned, Anna has peers that were trying to do the same thing. So we all were encouraging each other. So it was a combination of a lot of things, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of luck. So a lot of people, but like again, it all started with me getting mad and saying, you know what? Let me see what I can do in school. 'Cause everyone knew me as a funny dude. I was funny. I was funny dude. You know, Keon's not a class clown, but Keon's kind of smart, but he's funny. Keon ain't serious like that in the classroom. And so I started to believe that about myself. But I said, you know what? That's not true. But
Yeah. So what I hear is, because in this article, it's talking about facing knowledge gaps in your family, in your family, and then the process of applying for financial aid, and then getting support with scheduling classes, dealing with professors, and paying back student loan. Before it got there, you overcame those knowledge gaps, but it was something within you that started that path of getting. It's a book called uh Who Not How, and I mentioned it in the last podcast. So it sounds like you got to your who's and you took advantage of those, and it put you in position. But everything starts with you though, like making a decision. So let's go on to step 4. Ongoing education is lacking. Higher earners know the value of ongoing education. They never stop learning. So, man, this is so deep, man. I should have, dang, I didn't even think about it. Like now my mind is like on the spot wanting to go and do some research on the statistics of how many people like take on additional education beyond high school. But you would be so shocked, like if people do end up graduating from high school, like the continuous education, like people don't continue to pursue investing in themselves, going to conferences, um, taking workshops, taking marriage courses, taking financial courses, taking business courses, taking all different courses that can help enhance your life. And so higher earners know the value of ongoing education. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the traditional sense, but ongoing education is lacking. And that's one of the reasons that is, according to this article, is keeping people poor. Okay. So what are your thoughts on that?
I uh I got curious. I want to know the statistics. Now, I'm not sure. This might just be a number, but I see something that says about in 2022, about 62% of people who finished high school immediately went to college. And then in that same year, 2022, about 39% of all 18 to 24-year-olds were enrolled in some type of post high school program. So, and it says, college student enrollment has been going down over the past 20 years. And so I thought that was interesting. I was curious. I wanted to know about that myself. And so here's the thing, because I think that's still a good number. I think that's
Yeah.
probably, you would still say most people are still going to college or doing something. But another number that comes to my mind is how many people are finishing. It's not you don't just get the degree or diploma because you just showed up. You got to finish, and a lot of people are not finishing.
Wow. So let's keep going. At the high end of the ladder, the wealthy, let's talk about what the wealthy do. The wealthy invest enormous sums to join high performance peer groups that constantly challenge them to keep growing. They embrace accountability partners, executive coaching, masterminds, and endless personal development. They never stop learning because they know that the more you learn, the more you'll earn. Okay, so I got a question. If you're listening right now, how many of you in the last how many of you in the last year that you could say you invested $500, $1,000 into your education? Like, and or did you stay in the space of, man, you know, we need to give reparations. And I'm not even discounting it. Like I'm not even bringing it up to debate it one way or the other. Or because what I hear is extreme accountability, extreme ownership, and they're doing something. So if you are making $30,000 a year, when is the last time you've done something to better your life, where you took money out your pocket and said, I'm worth it. I'm going to go buy this course. I'm going to go do this thing. Like I'm in a dead end career. Man, it's a ceiling on my career. Man, you know what? I might need to pivot to something else, man, where I can unlock my income and I enjoy it. So
Right.
like, and so it's not about just chasing the money, but it's like you can make that connection point of like, I'm interested in this. And let me also do lift the hood and just make sure, because you might have multiple interests. So it's like, okay, I have the interest there, and it'll create a path for me. Like when as I develop and learn those skills, I'll put myself in position to double my income, triple my income. Because what happens is, or are you staying in that victim space of, man, I just can't get ahead, and you just will not let go of where you currently are. And I get it, you have to making a pivot takes time. So this is not any quick fix stuff anyway. So I'm gonna get your way in, Kim. But first, I'm gonna shout out to one of the solutions that we brought to you. It's not the be all end all, but it's one. We know the CEO at Level Careers. If it's of interest, feel free to check them out. Level Careers, tech sales, cybersecurity. You can make some pretty good money. You don't necessarily need a degree, and so you can bypass that part. But it's going to take you some work to get there if you don't have a degree. But it can help get you some exposure to people that's in the industry, education where people are doing it, and it's true practitioners who's not just talking about it and just have this course and they ain't even living what they're saying. The CEO is living what he say he living, which I know personally. The course, the person that's giving the courses, they live in it, they're doing it, they're being it. And so if that's something of interest, Level Careers, check out the link below. Go to the website. If you can get a discount, put Ken in the discount code. And it can help you out. It's one of many resources, but my biggest thing is go get some help. Go develop yourself. Go invest in yourself. Ken, I'm gonna kick it over to you.
Right. I think I can already hear. I know you went straight at people. You said if you're making 30,000, I can already hear. But Ken, I with the bills and my girl or my man or the kids and this and the car, my alternator went out. Look, okay, we understand. Maybe you don't have the bread to drop right now, obviously, but maybe you need to come up with a plan and figure out how can you save up in 2 to 3 months and invest in something. And if maybe the finances is going to take longer than that, but we're telling you don't sit up and complain or just rely on that excuse, because you can invest way more than money.
Fact.
If you can invest your time, invest your attention, invest your focus. We know you got to work, but if you come up off your shift, we don't want to hear you complain if you come up off your shift and coming home and just immediately like, oh, life is so hard. Where's the remote? Where's my bowl of chips? I'm finna lay down, and life is so hard. So I think I'm just gonna watch TikTok till about 7, 8. And then life is so hard. So I think I'm gonna go fix dinner, and now life's too hard for that. I think I'm gonna go out to eat and I got this time for me to go back to sleep. I gotta go back to work. But nah, you had all that time. You could have easily been researching or just it's free for now. It's free to use Google and all these search engines, so you can search for ways to get about your situation. There's so many there's so much information out there. So like we said earlier, it starts with you.
Facts. Yeah, yeah. All right, number 5. Home ownership is out of reach. The average homeowner has a net worth 40 times higher, 396,200, than of the average renter, 10,400, according to the Federal Reserve. However, it takes tens of thousands of dollars to buy a home. Between the down payment, closing costs, cash reserves, that puts home ownership out of reach for many lower income Americans, and without it, a major avenue to building wealth. My thoughts on it is it's still going back to what we just talked about. Like, if you realize like you're not making enough money and you've budgeted as much as you possibly can. Uh, what one of the things I've learned is usually when we are in certain scenarios, if you dig deep and you genuinely ask yourself, have I done everything that I possibly can? Have I been as resourceful as I possibly can? Have I really given this thought? Like the situation I'm in, have I really explored all my options, all my opportunities, or am I really just settling? Because to your point, it will take time. Like, so are you even being resourceful? So I get it. Like sometimes we don't have money, but like money is the last thing that comes.
Hmm.
like when money show up, a person like, man, how you make that type of? It's like, man, do you know what I did to like? Do you know like the blood, the sweat, the tears? Like you said, getting off work, then I gotta go study this, or I gotta go read this book, or I gotta go take this course, and I'm just mapping it out, and and like just one day putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, one day at a time, and then next thing you know, you start building momentum, and you start seeing like, dang, my life is changing, like you know what I'm saying? But it takes time because you got to become something different. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, if you realize home ownership is out of reach, I understand. I get it. But that don't have to be your reality forever. What plan can you put in motion that can increase your income, that can start that process? But then also, are there resources out there that can help you get into home ownership if that's something that you want to get into? However, I will caution not to be house rich and cash poor to where the only thing you can do is live in a house, but by the time you pay all the bills, you strapped. And when I say strapped, you are literally one scenario away from you plan it so tight to where if anything comes up, you might barely even be able to pay the mortgage next month. So like just be mindful, make sure you're operating and you're giving yourself some buffer as you're moving, and you're truly ready to make that purchase financially. I'll kick it over to you if you got any thoughts on the home ownership part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got hit around top of the head. I Now, maybe this is just one of them takes where it's like, Keon, once you get older, you'll understand. Probably, maybe I'm just too young, but I feel like there are just certain traditions that are kind of, I don't want to say forced, but we just kind of go along with it. And I think home ownership is one of the things where it's like we don't really question it. It's just assumed like, no, I have to get a home. And some people make the extra jump and go, I have to get a home ASAP. I
Facts.
have to do what it takes to go get a home ASAP. And then they villainize renting, and that I think that's where the conversation gets screwy. Like everyone needs to just focus on what route is going to get them to their goals the quickest. If someone else's route involves renting, then cool. If your route does or doesn't, then cool. But focus on it from like a long-term perspective. But I guess I don't know. Do,
No,
do you do you, do
it's
you get what I'm
definitely an
saying?
interesting topic for sure because it's be so stark differences like home ownership or nothing or die. And then it's like
Yeah.
you a loser if you rent. And it's like, well, maybe I ain't ready to rent yet. Like maybe I don't even know if I'm
Yeah.
gonna be here in the next 2, 3 years. Or actually, I'm in the middle of my goal, or I'm building a business, or I'm building, or like I'm literally in the middle of something. And so why would I take this money and allocate it here when I really can use this towards what like it's just like a either or. I understand what the statistics say, but sometimes it's about timing. It's about what your interests are, and and so it does get pretty tricky. And I will say, like during these periods now, the interest rates are higher, but at the same time, if you have worked so hard and dedicated you built your business, you built a really great career, the interest rates might not even be a big deal for you. So
Right.
like, so I know a lot of people mention interest rates, but some people it's probably not, it might not even bother. But see, that's wealth mentality. Like, oh my God, interest rates are high. Like I can't, and you're right. Like it might, when the interest rate shot up, it might have priced you out. But like, then maybe there's an opportunity. Like I'm just built like if something like that happens, I'm like, oh, if I really wanted to purchase a home, I'm like, okay, bet. I'm not gonna let this economy dictate what I'm doing with my life. Like, what's my plan to be recession proof? Like I'm saying it in like how can I recession proof my life to where I can control the things that I can control to where if the interest rate is at 8, 9, or 2, yeah, there will be some nuances, but I can still go do that thing that I want to do for myself and my family.
Yep. You know what I hate about our community? I hate our people sometimes. You know why I hate our people? We'll learn something and act like and shame you for not knowing it.
Mm.
You get what Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, like it kind of reminds me like of
Hey,
what
you hold on, wait, wait, wait. Hate, that's a strong word. So just say get you may be disappointed or just troubled or frustrated or annoyed.
I love our people, but we gotta do better on this. Not for real. Like if you don't know a friend that does that, it might be you. So like okay, but it kind of reminds me like of what Dame Dash did to the word employee like 10 years ago. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, just to wrap it up though, like y'all, yes, home ownership is a great goal to achieve for, but and that's something that a lot of our people might not have been able to take advantage of in the past that now we're able to start getting advantage, starting to get in on because of laws, racism is, whatever. It's a good time to be able to own homes. And so as you are approaching your goal of home ownership, whatever that is for you, don't put other people down. You know what I'm saying? Just lift other people up.
No, that I like that. No, that's I like that. I like that a lot actually. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Yeah. All right, last one. Investing. Man,
Mm.
investing and leveraging aren't practice. Some of the reasons above are practical or financial. Others revolve around cultural views and habits. All right, so they talking about Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki wasn't wrong when he explained that the rich put their money to work for them while the poor and middle class work for money. You can argue for your own limitations and come up with perfectly reasonable reasons why you or someone else can't afford to do likewise. Man, that's sheesh. Man, that's deep. You wouldn't be wrong per se, but you also won't get rich. Dang, that's wild. You gotta let that one breathe when he you gotta let that one breathe. Robert Kiyosaki, the Godfather, Rich Dad Poor Dad. He be doing some doom and gloom stuff too, though. It'd be a bit much sometimes, but like the overall arching premise of his message though, man, that's deep right there, man. That's deep. You know, I'll kick it over to you and get your thoughts on it.
Just some first thing I thought of was we are using leverage though, Ken, but they're using it the wrong way. You're using leverage to get that
Mm.
new top or get that new TV.
Ah, or the whip
Mm.
with a negative, and you already don't have much of a net worth, and then you buying too much of a car, and now you're negative. If you have 6 figures as a negative net worth, man, like we gotta turn it around and do some things. If you have you know, and even if it's 5 digit negative, you're not a bad person. It's just some decision that you've made up until that point got you there. And so the biggest thing is we got to turn it around. We got to do something different. We got to do something different. You know, yeah. And we talked about net worth before. And so, man, we so far behind. But it's like some of this stuff, man, like I totally agree. Like, man, some of the stuff that was done to us as Black folks was egregious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just straight up egregious. But like at the same time, one of my mentors, like, hey, but we gonna control what we can control. Like we gonna acknowledge that all that stuff happened. Like, but in 2024, we ain't if we still a slave in 2024, it's because you are doing some things that's keeping yourself enslaved and in bondage financially. Now, yeah, there's still systematic things, and heck yeah, at Black, if you Black, sometimes you do have to work 10 times harder, like to get the same thing. Like, so we don't want to discount any of that. That's real, but like, okay, I just refuse to spend any of my time talking about all that. We can acknowledge it, but what we doing about it? Like, what do we do? Like, your family cannot eat off of historical data, historical context, the historical racism, systematic racism, all of the racisms and isms. Your family can't eat off of that. You can't eat off of that. You can't build wealth off of that. Like, so acknowledging it, but like, what we doing? What we gonna do?
Right, man. That's real, you know. And that sometimes, I guess to those in our audience, sometimes looking at it kind of black and white like that helps. It kind of helps you zoom out on what's real and what's not, you know. And so when you're dealing with your emotion and dealing with certain things, like for fear, I say to myself, how do you help yourself overcome fear and overcome that worry? It's not that you're a superhero and that it doesn't exist. It does exist. It's there, but I can't pay the bills with fear. I got to go find something else. I got to go combat it. I gotta overcome it.
Yeah. And as we wrap on this one, I want to use this example. I want to talk about this specific example that they use in the article. So years ago, when they're talking about a business partner was a low-wage single mom with 4 young children, she house hacked by subleasing the master bedroom in her rented home. She moved a bed into a hall closet for herself, and her subleasee covered most of her home's rent. That enabled her to save money to eventually buy a home, which she again partially rented out to cover her housing payment. She scored free housing because she learned how to leverage other people's money. She didn't spend the money she saved. She funneled it into more income producing assets and investments, growing even more income. Later, she learned how to put other people's time to work building her business. Woo, man. And of course, she's the exception. She rose to wealth because she learned how to play the game more like the wealthy.
Mhm.
So you don't understand my situation. Y'all ain't got no kids. I'm struggling. I got a lot going on. You don't understand daycare, all of that. And damn, daycare, yeah, it does. Yes, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt, absolutely. But come on, man. Like early in the article, like I said, if you wanna advocate for your limitations and fight for them,
Mm.
be my guest. Like, that's still not gonna change your situation.
Wow, that's deep.
Like, fight for your limitations. But like, and we all in our own right, regardless on our circumstances, if we're not getting the outcome that we want, that we say we want for our lives, and we gonna fight you on our limitation. Think about that. Like, think about the deep-rooted programming of fighting for a limitation that's not really working for you. And it's not moving you further. Actually, you just spinning your wheels because now you just reinforcing that because what you speak into existence, it's real. Like it becomes real. It becomes your existence. Like, so be mindful what you speaking into your life. Be mindful who's speaking into your life. And if it's too many people speaking limitations in your life, guess what's gonna manifest in your life?
Limits.
All right, so that's enough on that article. I'll leave you with this. Uh, I thought it'd be good to share this, man. Proverbs 22:7. If you haven't read Proverbs, this is just the book of wisdom, man. Like, check it out. But You don't even have to be like the most, you ain't gotta be no pastor, no preacher, nothing. Just open it up, go to Proverbs. Like you be like, dang, this got all kind of wisdom that I can live by. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. So my thing is, my question I would ask is, how do I be the lender? I'm glad you asked. You know what I'm saying? So like it just starts sparking things like that in your life to help you start thinking about things on a